Hello and welcome to the 12th Annual Greater Hampton Roads Crime Lines Dinner and Top Cop Awards. This is a very special year. I'm your Mistress of Ceremonies, Juliet Bickford. I'm on WTKR News Channel 3, and this is a special year for this awards banquet that many of you have been here for year after year because it is the 30th anniversary of the Crime Line program here in Hampton Roads, and that is quite a big accomplishment. And so many people worked so hard back in 1982 to make that happen. Let's give them all a round of applause. When I started working with this group 4 years ago, we had an idea of taking action against crime, and I can't think of a better organization to partner with for News Channel 3 than the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line. There are some terrifically dedicated civilian volunteers, so many of you out there in the audience that I've gotten to know over the past few years that have done so much to make this program what it is and to make it the thriving program that it is today, as well as our law enforcement, police officers, police chiefs, and the entire law enforcement community to make sure that this program is another way to fight crime here in Hampton Roads. I grew up in Hampton, and this is something that's near and dear to my heart to make sure that our community is safe and continues to be safe, and that you get the support you need to get those tips to fight the crimes that are out there. And so I appreciate everybody who's here today. We want to thank all of the businesses who support the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line, all of the civilian volunteers who work so hard. Tonight is about saying thank you to all of you and honoring all of you. And so I hope you take a minute to sit back and enjoy yourselves because we have a great evening planned here for you. We want to start now with our presentation of colors. If everybody could please rise. The Virginia Beach Police Department Honor Guard.
DJ, present.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Ready, good. Right, three, four, forward,
And we'd like to thank our Virginia Beach Police Department Honor Guard for being here tonight. Now I'd like to welcome to the stage Master Police Officer Chris Amos from the Norfolk Police Department for our invocation.
Let's certainly keep New Jersey, New York. We're here enjoying this tonight. They are not. And so let's be mindful of them. Let's pray. Father, we do thank you for this night. And Lord, for whatever reason, here we are. And we're enjoying electricity, and we're going to enjoy a wonderful meal, friendships, reunions. And God, we're so very, very thankful for each and every one. Lord, and we would pray for those up north facing conditions that really are tough to fathom, tough to dream of here in America. And so, Lord, we pray that your hand would be there, that you would grant grace and patience, and Father, that you would do that which only you can do. But again, thank you for this night, and thank you for the crime lines, the crime solvers programs. Thank you for this food, the hands that have prepared it. May we do every word that's spoken, and the officers that are recognized, Father, we pray will be pleasing in your sight. For it's in the precious name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
On behalf of Mayor Sessoms, it's my pleasure to be here with you at the 12th Annual Hampton Roads Crime Line Crime Stoppers Awards Dinner. And to those of you that have traveled to come here, welcome to Virginia Beach. I appreciate the work that each of you have done in your community to help stop crime. Good folks like you can outsmart criminals, and your efforts in our communities has helped to put a stop to crime in Hampton Roads. I know you have the gratitude of your friends, your neighbors, and your police officers for the impact that you're having on crime in your communities. Crime Line and Crime Solvers, their programs have had a long history of excellence, and the statistics, well, they speak for themselves. Since 1982, Crime Line and Crime Solvers in Hampton Roads have closed a book on more than 16,000 cases and assisted in the recovery of more than $27 million in stolen assets, other properties, illegal drugs, and you've had approximately a 97% conviction rate. That record is envied by many, but exceeded by hardly anyone. So on behalf of the City Council, the citizens of Virginia Beach, I want to congratulate each of the police officers, individuals, corporations, and organizations that are here this evening to be honored. And thank you again for all you do for our communities.
And it's my pleasure tonight to welcome all of you here and to introduce some of our friends here of the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line. We have Commonwealth's Attorney for the City of Virginia Beach, Harvey Bryant. Smithfield Town Manager, Peter Stevenson. Smithfield Mayor, Carter Williams. Windsor Mayor, Rita Richardson. Isle of Wight Commonwealth's Attorney, Wayne Farmer. Portsmouth Councilwoman, Marlene Randall. Portsmouth Councilman, Bill Moody. Portsmouth Vice Mayor, Charles Whitehurst. Suffolk Councilman, Leroy Bennett. And we thank all of our city leaders who are here tonight and all of our law enforcement leaders from all of the cities all across Hampton Roads. It's our pleasure to bring you all together tonight for a big thank you and a chance to honor all of the work that you do throughout the year. And we can't talk about honoring people without talking about those civilian board members. I started talking about meeting these folks 4 years ago, and I was really struck by the determination, the dedication year after year to raising money, being a part of the board, staying on top of all of the latest information to make sure that the Crime Line program is running as best as it can here in Hampton Roads. We would like to recognize all of our civilian board members, and we would like for them to all stand up if they can for our Crime Line Crime Solver programs. We know there are a lot of you in the audience. Stand up or raise your hand so that we can honor you. Let's give them a huge round of applause. I'm grateful for all that you do, and I'm proud to call you all friends, and I appreciate all of your support and all of your support to the Crime Line program. And now we'd like to recognize our Crime Line Crime Solver coordinators who are in attendance. We have our law enforcement representatives that make this circle between the media, the law enforcement, and the civilian board members. We'd like to now recognize our law enforcement coordinators. If you can raise your hand or stand up, we'll give them a round of applause. Don't be shy. We put you guys on TV all the time. And also, I love to talk about this because I think it's so great to get our young people involved. We also have some members of the Suffolk Crime Stoppers students in attendance. If you guys would like to raise your hands or stand up, we really appreciate you guys, and let's give them a huge round of applause. Speaking of students and getting the young people involved with this program, We'd like to recognize our Isle of Wight, Smithfield, Windsor poster contest participants. We have our winners up here displayed in front of the stage, and then on your table you might have noticed there are some posters from the contest that they did. This was from Smithfield High School, Windsor High School, and Isle of Wight Academy. These students came up with some really creative ways to demonstrate what the Crime Line program does, an anonymous tip line that gives you money to tell their fellow students about and tell the greater community about. So we wanted to showcase that for you because we think there's a lot of talent there in Isle of Wight, Windsor, and Smithfield, and we appreciate all of their hard work. We'd also like to thank our videographer taping the event and the city government channels that will rebroadcast our dinner. Fallon Williams is our photographer from Chesapeake, and Andy Franklin is a videographer from Suffolk. Thank you very much. And I think it's so important whenever I go speak to groups about the Crime Line program to thank our corporate sponsors. There are so many companies here that just get it. They get that if you want to have a company in a safe community, if you want to be in a thriving place and make Hampton Roads a better place to have your company, you support the Crime Line. It's so simple. And so we want to make sure that you take a look at our program book. Look at those people that are the sponsors of tonight, that are the sponsors of the Crime Line program, and make sure you visit them. They're our local community partners. They get it. They're there to support our community, and we are so proud to partner with them here tonight. You've seen, I have some lovely entertainment that just walked in front of me right now. We have our dinner entertainment provided by Princess Anne High School Orchestra String Quartet with Mary Hughes as the director. So thank all of our students for being here on a Saturday night and entertaining us with their beautiful music. And I just want to remind you, you have till 8 o'clock to get those silent auction bids in. I'm going to let you guys enjoy your dinner. We're going to continue with our program after dinner. And now, as they say, on with the show. I want to thank our wonderful student musicians right here, Princess Anne High School Orchestra String Quartet with director Mary Hughes. Weren't they wonderful? Thank you very much. We appreciate you guys being here. And while they clear the stage area, I'm going to talk a little bit about the statistics, because when we talk about the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line, there are some pretty impressive numbers here. In 2011, the number of cases solved, 619. Total arrests, 360. Total property and drugs recovered due to Crime Line tips, $232,437. And how about this? Total rewards paid, $78,520. That is some impressive stuff. And when we talk about the amount of money that goes out in tips, that's the amount of money that all of these boards need to work very hard to raise for next year. So please be sure that you're generous and continue to support those boards, and ask all of your friends in business to help you out, and all of your neighbors as well. Now I'd like to introduce Jan Clark, who is the chair of our Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line.
Good evening, everybody. I know the program says Jan Westerbeck, but it is now Jan Clark, just for confirmation. It's been pointed out several times. My wonderful husband. I'm very proud to be here. This past year has been very interesting and very busy, and I want to thank Chief Hargis for letting me have the night off. It's been extremely busy. And one reason that it's been so busy is because Portsmouth, Virginia Beach, now Norfolk and Chesapeake are online with text and web tipping. That has increased our volume of calls incredibly. And the type of calls that we're getting from citizens related to crime is just phenomenal, with the detail that we're getting through these texts and through these webs. We're hoping through the Regional Crime Line that we will have every jurisdiction represented in this room up and running with their text and web tipping this year or early next year. I'm very excited about that. I'm very passionate about it. It's a good thing. It works. It gives the students, and you can ask any of those students sitting back there at that table, which I'm so glad to see you guys here tonight. Very proud of you. But ask them, you know, when they're in school, when they see a crime and they need to report it, this text and web tipping is the easiest thing for them. They don't have to go somewhere or tell anybody what they're doing. They can just do it from their phones and nobody knows, and they're safe. They don't have to fear retaliation. And these kids need that. And in Portsmouth, we're pushing it. In the other jurisdictions we're working with, we're pushing that text and web tipping. So I'm very excited about that. Like I said, it's been an extremely busy year. I was proud to represent the Hampton Roads Crime Line as chair. I think I have one more year, I'm not sure. Maybe I don't know. But anyway, it's been great. And it's also been great working with Juliet Bickford and News Channel 3 and WTKR. If you watch Channel 3 and you watch those taking action against crime stories, and you see the amount of information that's being put out there so the citizens can understand what the police department has to deal with and what we're trying to get accomplished through solving these crimes, it just would not work without what taking action against crime has done for us. And I'm very proud that WTKR is a huge sponsor of Crime Line and Crime Solvers. And Juliet is here tonight, of course, as our MC, but we have a plaque for her. And you'll see some of the other sponsors get plaques too. So I'll go ahead and take care of that and get that out of the way.
Thank you very much. And Jan, News Channel 3, we've been very proud to partner with the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line. I'm happy to say, teaming up with our local law enforcement, we've helped to catch more than 150 fugitives since this partnership began. So thank you.
Now, I'm not quite done, as she just stole my show. Yes, taking action against crime has helped us capture over 150 fugitives or solve crimes related to homicide, robbery, larcenies, you name it. Taking action against crime has done a story on it. Some very interesting stories that you'll see tonight during the program. But I wanted to it's very interesting working with Juliet because she's with the coordinators, and you can ask any police coordinator in here. We see her almost daily. She's genuinely concerned about crime. She genuinely wants to help us solve these crimes. She wants to help the community, and she wants to do it through her medium, her WTKR, and she just does a great job at it. And it's really interesting because a lot of the suspects call her to turn themselves in. It's very frustrating, though. But she does get confessions from time to time.
They usually tell me they didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I tell them to just waltz on down to the police department and explain it all, and they'll take care of it.
So she's a tremendous asset to the police department. Well, the civilian volunteer crime line board members and the law enforcement coordinators got together, and we came up with something. Since we can't give her a badge because we know she wants to be a cop, we can't do that, but we came up with something else to give her. So she doesn't know this is coming, but here's a little surprise for Juliet. And I've been in her office, and she doesn't have anywhere to hang it. But basically,
I don't even know what to say.
it is a representation of all 14 law enforcement jurisdictions who are represented here tonight and are involved in the Crime Line Crime Solvers program. They donated a patch. We couldn't give her the badge. I think she'd rather have that. But anyway, basically the plaque says that we thank her for those over 150 fugitives and crimes that she solved, working with law enforcement and with the community. She's just done an incredible job, and I think we ought to give her a big round of applause.
Thank you so much. I'm shocked and I'm so excited. I don't have an office to hang this in. I have a cubicle, but I will find a very prominent place to put this. This means a lot to me. You guys know from the work that I've done with you that this is something I'm passionate about, and I'm very lucky that WTKR News Channel 3 lets me do the stories that I do. I think this is an important thing that we do with taking action against crime. And they've told me, whatever you need to do, we support this 100%, and that is so rare in this business. So I feel lucky to have the support of my company behind me, but also the support of all of you, because I couldn't tell these stories without your help and without the community behind me saying that this is a worthwhile thing. And I think there is so much more on the horizon with taking action against crime. We've got some great things going, and we can expand this even more in the coming years, and I look forward to being the one that does it. Thank you. We have some other people that we'd like to honor tonight, because we have so many corporations who have helped us to make this a big year for the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line. I want to start with 7-Eleven, because this is such a terrific sponsor of the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line. They have donated $711 per program this year just to say thank you for helping solve crimes in their stores and being a community partner and saying this is important to have this crime line program here, because they want to operate in safe communities and have safe businesses out there. So we'd like to welcome Terry Drivas to come up and receive an award. And we thank 7-Eleven for all of their support. They've continuously helped out the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line. We're also proud to partner with Town Bank for the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line, and I'd like to invite a representative from Town Bank to come up here. Whenever we talk about local fundraisers and ways to make the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line and all of the different cities' programs run, Town Bank is there to support. If we have somebody here from Town Bank, we do have a plaque for you. Michelle. All right. Thank you very much for coming up here, and let's give Town Bank a round of applause. And let's talk about Bayport Credit Union. If we have a representative from Bayport here, we'd like to thank you for sponsoring the Top Cop Awards tonight and for continuously realizing the impact that Crime Line has on your business. You'll notice a lot of banks on here, and we get a lot of immediate response from banks when there is a crime that happens there, and they recognize that the Crime Line can help solve that. And so we're proud that they are partnering with us even after that. If we have somebody here from Bayport, please come up. If not, we will hold their award for them. And now Langley Federal Credit Union, Barbara Elvington, I'd like to, there you are, announce for you to come to the stage. And we'd like to thank Langley Federal Credit Union for being a major sponsor tonight and a continuous supporter of the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line. Let's give her a round of applause. One of our sponsors that's always been there is the Decker Log Firm, and we all know over the years from seeing Peter Decker up here on the stage, I have big shoes to fill. You know that he was always here with us for the Top Cop Awards, and we miss him greatly. We're so proud that the Decker Law Firm continues the support that he began to the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line, and Chris Amos is going to come to accept that award.
On behalf of the Deckers, thank you and thank y'all. I know it means a lot. We all know they have a big gala going on downtown in Norfolk right now for St. Jude's. Otherwise, they certainly would be here to support this. So thanks.
And if we we have a representative from Dominion Virginia Power here. We have an award plaque for you as well. We'd like to thank Dominion for being a sponsor once again of the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line, a major sponsor tonight to make this possible. So once again, we thank all of our local businesses who support all of our small fundraisers to the biggest fundraiser, to just making a donation when they know it makes a difference in their case. Thank you very much. We'd like to invite Chris Amos back to the stage because we're going to start some of our individual awards. And before we get started, as Chris gets situated here, I'd like to say a big thank you to Jan Clark. She has worked so hard as the chairman of the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line and has worked so hard for tonight's awards. I thank her very much for all of her support, and if you would like to give her a round of applause for such a great evening. Our first award tonight is for our top corporation. It's Hoffman Beverage, Inc., Mr. Don Albee, Hoffman's Marketing Vice President.
Hoffman Beverage Incorporated has provided consistent corporate support and contributions to the Virginia Beach Crime Solvers. Not only does Hoffman contribute money to the program, but it's also very generous with product donations like beverages and auction items. Hoffman's Marketing Vice President, Don Albee, is a dedicated member of the Virginia Beach Crime Solvers Board. From January 2011 to March 2012, Hoffman Beverage has donated more than $5,000 in cash and giveaways to the Virginia Beach Crime Solvers program. Hoffman Beverage is a major contributor to the program's annual golf tournament, pig picking, and Mardi Gras fundraisers. It's our honor to recognize Hoffman Beverage as the 2012 Top Cop Corporation of the Year Award recipient. And I would, if I could interrupt you just once. How many of you have been to this several times? This is not your first time, raise your hand. I recognize a lot of faces. You know, in the past, these awards have been kind of lengthy, like reading War and Peace. And I pared it down to a page, size 14 font. Juliet pared it down to a paragraph, size 14 font. So this part is going to go, I can speak for law enforcement, short and sweet. So this part's going to go much quicker.
It's the television in me. I had to cut it down.
But having said that, you know, some of these folks did a lot more. They did more than what you're going to hear. But so those nominators who sent in like 7- and 8-page nomination, Sergeant Adam, it's a paragraph, all right? If you got a problem with it, see Juliet.
I might be gone by then. Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to our next award. It's the Peter G. Decker Jr. Top Individual Award. Before we give out that award, we have a video to play to talk about Mr. Decker's great influence on this community and to remind us all how much we miss him and we're grateful for all of his support over the years.
Last spring, Pete and I sat down in his office to talk about his favorite charity, of course, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. You know, over the years, he's raised millions for the cause.
Once I went there to the hospital, I was knocked out.
Little did I know, this would be the last time we would interview together. Yet, it was in this setting he told me everything I needed to know. Why would this larger-than-life lawyer, judge, and multimillionaire work so hard to give back?
I don't think you inherit a big heart. I think it's something that you feel an obligation to do. And when I see a sick child, it's very difficult for me to say no. And I'll always say yes as long as I'm able.
He was willing and able for decades. We did a waltz down memory lane in his scrapbooks. You know, it was fun seeing Pete and his beloved wife Bess at various fundraisers. They supported causes from the arts to education. Hey, and speaking of education, every year, Pete bussed in school children to Nauticus as a reward for good grades. Pete also enjoyed rubbing elbows with the stars. He told me how he and Danny Thomas used to hang out back in the day, raising money for St. Jude. He remembered it like it was yesterday.
When he would go to New York, I was his opening act, so to speak. I'd sing a song.
Ah, yes. That was Pete's other passion, his love affair with music.
Regrets? Are you kidding me?
He recorded several CDs and, of course, all the money going to St. Jude. That's when Pete gained the reputation that he never missed an opportunity to grab a mic. But I knew him as a friend of 30 years who never missed an opportunity to help anyone who needed him. And when I asked him to help me raise money to fight diabetes, he was right there. And he brought a posse of friends with him to the diabetes walk year after year. He seemed unstoppable, tireless, until that day when cancer entered his life. He knew he was in for the fight of his life.
But I'm cancer-free right now. By the will of God himself, I am cancer-free.
In the wee hours of the morning, God called Pete home. What will I remember most about my friend Uncle Pete? He always used to say, "Who loves you, baby?" Yes, it was a playful flirtation.
You look fantastic.
But those of us who really knew him well, know well who he loved best.
My wife, who's a beautiful lady, by the way, she stood by me so much over these last couple of years. And
He loved hard, he gave his all, and in one of his last songs, his lyrics say it all.
Do it my
Just a glimpse of what Peter Decker did for this community, and we all have so many fond memories of him. We just wanted to think about him and say, Pete, we miss you tonight, and we appreciate everything you did, and this next award is so suitably named in his honor.
Stuart Grimes Myers, if you can make your way up front for the Peter G. Decker Jr. Award for Civilian of the Year. Stuart Grimes Myers' fundraising efforts have helped the Virginia Beach Crime Solvers program soar. Stuart Grimes Myers has been an active member of the Virginia Beach Crime Solvers Board for 4 years, but her influence began long before that, when she supported her husband, the late Bill Myers. Bill was a founding member of the board. When he died, Stuart took over as the major force behind Virginia Beach's fundraising. Last year alone, Stuart sold more than $1,900 in golf tournament ads, sold more than 40 tickets to the annual pig picking event, secured auction items for the Mardi Gras Fair, and sold 2 tables for the event. The Virginia Beach Crime Solvers Board says, Stuart, you are the wind beneath our fundraising wings. It's our honor to recognize Stuart Grimes Myers as the 2012 Top Cop Peter G. Decker Jr. Award Civilian of the Year.
Now to our law enforcement awards, beginning with Chesapeake Police Officer Mark Cool.
Officer Mark Cool, as he makes his way up front. Officer Mark Cool has been with the Chesapeake Police Department since 2000. He was named Chesapeake's Officer of the Year for 2011. Officer Cool has made a significant impact on the Deep Creek precinct. His efforts with Operation Sniper have reduced crime in this area of Chesapeake. His work led to numerous felony arrests for cases involving home invasion robberies, malicious woundings, and felony narcotics. Officer Cool was also recognized by the Commonwealth Attorney's Office for an extensive investigation involving the identification and prosecution of gangs in the Greenbrier section of the city. Officer Cool serves on Chief Wright's, who's accompanying him here on stage tonight, serves on Chief Wright's South Norfolk Gang Initiative Task Force. It is our honor to recognize Officer Mark Cool as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the Chesapeake Police Department.
For Hampton Police, we'd like to recognize Corporal David Giles.
Corporal Giles, if you could make your way up front, and he'll be accompanied by Acting Chief Thomas Townsend with the Hampton Police Division. Corporal David Giles has been with Hampton Police Division since 2003 and is currently the Crime is currently in the Crimes Against Property Unit. Since the beginning of his career, Corporal Giles has proven to be a consistent asset to the division and his unit. He has been recognized with several awards within the division, including the Life Saving and Meritorious Service Award in May 2010. Corporal Giles' unwavering commitment to the citizens has been proven time and again with his impressive statistics. Last year alone, he made 11 felony arrests, 44 misdemeanor arrests, 38 DUI arrests, issued over 276 summonses, and completed 309 field interviews. It's our honor to recognize Corporal David Giles as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the Hampton Police Division.
We've been talking about this is a big year for the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line because the first program started 30 years ago. Now we want to take a look back at the beginning and all of the successes from the Peninsula Crime Line.
After 30 years of taking action against crime, the Peninsula Crime Line is getting bigger results than ever.
When I first started, a $1,000 reward may be paid once or twice a year, and now it's almost every month.
Fred Kern has been on the board of the Peninsula Crime Line since the 90s. He's seen some big cases solved because of anonymous tips from the community, like the murder of Diane Green, a beloved Hardee's worker gunned down during a robbery. It happened in September 2007, but the community would have to wait a year and a half for justice. In April of 2009, a Crime Line tip led investigators to Anthony Wainwright. He was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison.
There's the example that the cases are never really closed. The information is still out there.
The Peninsula Crime Line has a history of getting very dangerous suspects off the streets.
One of the first $1,000 rewards because of somebody calling and giving us a tip on a sexual assault.
Retired Newport News Police Captain Susie Mallory was the department's crime line coordinator in the early 80s. Things were very different back then. She brought the crime line home with her, literally.
I had to answer all the calls that came in, and then they were directed to my home, so I answered them 24/7.
Back in the 80s when the program first started, police would go on TV every week to try to communicate with the tipsters. For example, they would ask caller number 122 to call them back to claim their reward. These days, it's a lot simpler.
Now there's just one crime line phone number for the entire Hampton Roads region, 1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP.
The whole dynamic changed at that point.
About 10 years ago, Kern helped form the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line, allowing the Peninsula Crime Line and all the other programs to work together under the same phone number. What hasn't changed is how the police still come to News Channel 3 to ask our viewers for information about unsolved cases. In 2002, a crime line caller saw a story on News Channel 3 about a string of unsolved robberies that stretched from York County to Virginia Beach. The tipster recognized one of the robbers in the story. Matthew Lewis and James Earl Wilson Jr. were arrested thanks to that tip. And more recently, the crime line helped solve the murder case of Ricky Calloway Jr., killed in a drive-by shooting on Westwood Avenue in Hampton in the summer of 2011. A crime line call led to the arrest of 3 men for that murder. The tipster got a $1,000 reward for that. These days, the Peninsula Crime Line gives out more rewards to tipsters than any other program in Hampton Roads. That's partly because the program includes so many departments: Hampton, Newport News, Poquoson, York County, Williamsburg, James City County, and Gloucester County. And all the money for those rewards comes from donations from individuals and businesses. Community partners like Old Point National Bank have been donating to the program since the beginning. And the Peninsula Crime Line is hoping other businesses will step up.
We're looking for more help because we're solving more cases. We typically solve getting close to 3 cases a week from anonymous tips.
Looking ahead to the next 30 years, the Peninsula Crime Line is hoping to work with more community organizations in a partnership to fight crime. If you have any information that can help police take action against crime in your neighborhood, call the crime line at 1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP. Juliette Bickford, News Channel 3.
We're going to move on to our next award now, the Isle of Wight County Sheriff's Office. Captain Joseph Willard, please join us on stage.
And he will be accompanied by Major James Clark. Captain Joseph Willard, or Joey, has been in law enforcement for 33 years in Isle of Wight. He's currently the Division Commander of the Administration and Court Civil Process in the Sheriff's Office. From subordinates to supervisors, Captain Willard's commitment to ethics and integrity within the agency has been a constant beacon to all. His work has helped modernize the Sheriff's Office through technology and building design. Captain Willard's ability to put duty and others before self and to work toward a common goal has earned him the respect of his fellow deputies, other law enforcement agencies, and the community as a whole. He represents the best that this profession has to offer. It's our honor to recognize Captain Joseph Joey Willard as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the Isle of Wight County Sheriff's Office.
Now we'd like to welcome our top cop for James City County Police, Senior Officer Todd Dill.
And he will be accompanied by Chief Emmett Harmon. Senior Officer Todd Dill is a crime prevention officer with the James City County Police Department. He's very active within the community on bike patrol, mentoring at-risk students, coordinating neighborhood and business watch programs, and doing presentations on crime prevention topics. Officer Dill has coordinated several community service projects. That includes a car show to raise money for Project Lifesaver for the past 3 years, and a canned food drive with the Salvation Army. He's also organized the department's first ever Shop with the Cop program to brighten the holidays for underprivileged children. Officer Dill has undoubtedly helped improve the quality of service that the James City County Police Department provides to its citizens. It is our honor to recognize Officer Todd Dill as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the James City County Police Department.
And now we'd like to recognize Newport News Police Master Police Detective Jeffrey Turlington as our top cop for Newport News.
And he will be accompanied by Chief James Fox. Master Police Detective Jeffrey Turlington of the Newport News Police Department representative on the he represents the Newport News Police Department on the Drug Enforcement Agency's task force. In 2011, Detective Turlington was involved in Operation Pest Control, conducting surveillance and cracking down on suspected heroin dealers. Detective Turlington and the DEA task force arrested 30 people, found over 1 kilogram of heroin, and recovered 15 firearms. In 2012, Detective Turlington was involved in 2 investigations into drug trafficking organizations. In one operation, he worked with the DEA to investigate a Mexican drug trafficking organization that was distributing multi-kilograms of cocaine in Newport News and Hampton. Detective Turlington has also discovered information about a 1992 cold case murder and is currently working with homicide investigators in the U.S. Attorney's Office on that case. It's our honor to recognize, it would probably be best if our recipients stayed up here until this is the money line. And when I read the money line and you're now sitting at your table, it's sort of anticlimactic. So just stay here until we get to the money line, and then everybody. Deal?
Okay.
It's our honor to recognize Master Police Detective Jeffrey Turlington as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the Newport News Police Department.
Now we'd like to take a walk down memory lane and take a look at 30 years of Crime Line in Portsmouth.
These calls are not traced, and they never will be.
For 30 years, the Portsmouth Crime Line has been committed to taking action against crime and getting results. And News Channel 3 has a history of working with the program to help solve cases.
He knocked with knife in hand. Valentine opened the door and was stabbed repeatedly.
Detective Jimmy Ennis was the police coordinator for the Crime Line program in the 90s. In fact, News Channel 3's Ed Hughes honored Detective Ennis for his dedication with our Good Cop segment. Detective Ennis also hosted a weekly cable program called High Street Blues. The show worked with the Sheriff's Department to focus on finding Portsmouth fugitives, and Detective Ennis introduced a new idea to the Portsmouth Crime Line.
He recruited police officers to reenact unsolved crimes. From murders to armed robberies, he tried to bring the cases to life and maybe trigger someone's memory from the day of the crime. Detective Ennis says the tips to Crime Line poured in after reenactments like these. One case where Crime Line made a big difference was the 1997 murder of Angela Felton.
She was a real good person and a real good friend.
She had been missing for days. Then a Crime Line tip led police to her body in a vacant house. The investigator in the case says it was the most horrific scene she's ever come across. Crime Line tips also led police to the suspect. The victim's ex-boyfriend, Dexter Vinson, was found guilty and got the death penalty for the brutal murder. And the Portsmouth Crime Line has evolved over the years. Now it's accepting text and web tips. In October 2010, a web tip alerted police to a marijuana growing operation. Officers seized 82 marijuana plants worth $82,000, as well as guns, hydroponic equipment, and vehicles. David Patterson and Mary Usri were charged in the case. No matter how much technology changes, one thing never will. Citizens taking action against crime help Portsmouth Crime Line get results.
We're going to move on now to the Norfolk Airport Authority and welcome Officer James Saunders.
And he will be accompanied by Chief Jayward Hanna. Officer James Saunders is a patrol officer with the Norfolk International Airport Authority Police Department. He also acts as the alternate watch commander and is his platoon's field training instructor. In 2011, Officer Saunders, while assigned to fill in as the alternate watch commander, a sudden storm developed carrying strong winds and possible tornadoes. Officer Saunders developed and quickly executed a plan that would have saved a number of travelers from injury and possibly even death. Although the storm passed us by, the actions taken by Officer Saunders that day serves as portions of our plan for handling this type of event in the future. Officer Saunders is a resource for co-workers and to supervisors, and always has valuable information and insight to contribute. It's our honor to recognize Officer James Saunders as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the Norfolk International Airport Authority Police Department.
We'd like to welcome our Norfolk Police Department top cop, Detective Andre Perry.
And he'll be accompanied by Chief Mike Goldsmith. Norfolk Police Detective Andre Perry exposed a statewide counterfeit check operation ring that had stolen more than $100,000 from 36 companies within the state. Detective Perry's investigation showed a ringleader had a network of recruiters and check cashers who would take counterfeit payroll checks into check cashing locations throughout Virginia. During the course of his investigation, Perry worked with 13 different jurisdictions to make arrests in the case. Because of Detective Perry's efforts, ringleader John O. Smith, 2 of his recruiters, and over 30 check cashiers were arrested and successfully prosecuted in federal court. Detective Perry also investigated and arrested 68 individuals with a total of 112 charges in other unrelated cases. It's our honor to recognize Detective Andre Perry as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the Norfolk Police Department.
Now for our Poquoson Police Department top cop, Officer Brandy M. Turner.
And she will be accompanied by Poquoson Police Chief Cliff Bowen. Officer Brandy M. Turner has been with the Poquoson Police Department since 2010. Earlier this year, Officer Turner's training was put to the test when she was called to respond to an assault in progress at Owens Marina. She found an off-duty auxiliary deputy with the York Poquoson Sheriff's Office was hurt in the assault. Officer Turner worked with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office to track down 20 witnesses, and with the help of the Coast Guard, she tracked down the suspect's boat. Because of her tenacity and determination, the suspect's boat was seized and 6 suspects were arrested. Officer Turner also assists with the Fatal Vision Program, the After Prom event, various crime prevention programs, the Poquoson Child Fest event, Community Day, and the Identikid program. It's our honor to recognize Officer Brandy Turner as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the Poquoson Police Department.
As we continue to honor our Crime Line programs across Hampton Roads, let's take a look back at 30 years of Suffolk Crime Line.
From armed robberies to murders to missing persons, the Suffolk Crime Line has been there to help police investigate. So investigators started piecing together the last few hours before the crash.
Sheila later pointed the finger at this man, his picture caught on a bank surveillance video camera.
In July of this year, News Channel 3 was on the scene of a mysterious case on Woodruff Street. Amelia Mustin was found dead in her home.
It's just scary.
It kind of concerns me.
The community was on edge, and police were looking for answers.
If you have any idea on how she died, take action against crime. Call the Crime Line, 1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP.
Turns out someone did kill Mustin. A Crime Line tip led police to George Ure III. He's now charged with murder and abduction. Suffolk Detective Neil Boone says the Crime Line works.
In the past, we have put information on your program, and we've got good response from your viewers, and we've solved a lot of cases.
In June of 2011, police were called to the scene of an armed robbery at the Beauty Gallery. These are crime scene pictures of the chaos the robbers left behind after holding up the workers at gunpoint. A tip to the Crime Line led police to the robbers. In October 2010, robbers hit DeShiel's showroom in Suffolk twice. They got away with rifles like this one, along with muzzle loaders and shotguns. More than 20 altogether were stolen.
When you have that many guns go in a local area like this, somebody's bound to see them, somebody's bound to say something about it, and that's what gets these guys called.
And somebody did say something. A Crime Line tip led investigators to the gun thieves. Within a month, police arrested 2 men and a woman. Another case where taking action against crime gets results.
For us, it's extremely important. Without it, I don't think we would have made the arrests that we've made. So for us, taking action against crime, it's just been invaluable.
Let's move on to Portsmouth Police. The top cop is Detective Paul Grover. Let's welcome him to the stage.
And he will be accompanied by Chief Ed Hargis with the Portsmouth Police Department. Detective Grover is part of the Portsmouth Police Department's new homicide cold case unit. As soon as he transferred to his new position, Detective Grover started investigating a double homicide at a gas station from 14 years ago. During the investigation, Detective Grover was able to persuade several witnesses to testify against the accused shooter. Detective Grover's efforts led to the April 5th indictment of Vernon Mills for the 1998 double homicide, just 82 days into Detective Grover's assignment as a homicide cold case investigator. At the same time, Detective Grover was called on to assist on a number of current homicide investigations. It is our honor to recognize Detective Paul Jeff Grover as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the Portsmouth Police Department.
And we would like to recognize our Smithfield Police Top Cop, Deputy Chief Alonzo Howell.
And he will be accompanied by Town Manager Peter Stevenson. Deputy Chief Alonzo Howell was called upon to take on a big leadership role for Smithfield Police between the fall of 2010 and spring of 2012. He fulfilled the duties of Chief of Police when the current chief at that time traveled as the president of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. When the chief was later elected as the sheriff for Isle of Wight, Deputy Chief Howell took over as acting chief for several months. During this time, numerous citizens praised the dedication and professionalism of Deputy Chief Howell. He attended and supported the monthly meetings of the Isle of Wight Smithfield Windsor Crime Line, and he ensured the security of Smithfield Women's Club as they volunteered in the community. Alonzo Howell's performance has continued to reflect true professionalism, dedication, and commitment to the highest traditions of law enforcement. It's our honor to recognize Deputy Chief Alonzo Howell as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the Smithfield Police Department.
I'd like to take a moment to recognize our Commonwealth's Attorney from Portsmouth, Earl Mobley. Thank you very much for being here. Also, we would like to recognize now the top cop for Suffolk, Master Police Officer Andre Weaver.
And he will be accompanied by Chief Thomas Bennett. Master Police Officer Andre Weaver is a Suffolk School Resource Officer. He represented the Virginia Rules program to students at Nansemond River High School. The program educates young people about Virginia's laws and helps them develop skills needed to make sound decisions to avoid breaking laws and to become active citizens in their schools and communities. Officer Weaver sponsored the Nansemond River Crime Stoppers organization and helped the students with several projects throughout the year. This included the Wait to Text campaign and a mock DUI reenactment. Officer Weaver works to investigate criminal activity involving students in school and in their neighborhoods. Officer Weaver goes above and beyond his duties at Nansemond River. It's our honor to recognize Master Police Officer Andre Weaver as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the Suffolk Police Department.
And now we'll take a look back at 30 years of Crime Line in Norfolk.
It all started with a good idea in 1981.
I heard that Albuquerque, New Mexico had a good crime line program.
Back then, retired Chief Charles Grant was in charge of the Norfolk Police Department. He convinced community leaders like Conrad Greif the city needed a similar program, and the Norfolk Crime Line was born.
The biggest success was the constant support that we got within the community. They saw the rewards, they saw the efforts becoming fruitful.
Right away, Crime Line got big results for Norfolk police, like in the case of Clarence Carter, found dead in a field in April of 1995. Investigators said the homeless man was badly beaten before he was burned to death. Carter had no family, no one to advocate for him. But Crime Line gave him a voice, and ultimately a tip brought justice for Carter. And the department quickly learned how valuable an anonymous tip line could be.
People called in and gave information, and they were never exposed as to who was calling in.
And then there was the terrifying case of the Ocean View quadruple murder in January of 2004. A woman and her brother were murdered in an apartment on Kingston Avenue. Her two little girls, ages 2 and 4, also shot to death that night. Thanks to the Crime Line, Anthony Juniper was arrested and received the death penalty for the brutal killings.
I'm hoping that they catch whoever did this.
In October 2005, a manhunt was on after Norfolk police lost one of their own. Officer Stanley Reeves was gunned down in Park Place on Debris Avenue. Crime Line helped officers in their nationwide search for Thomas Porter, the man convicted of Officer Reeves' murder.
If the program weren't in place, what in the world would we do to find out the information that we get?
Bob Mall has been on the Norfolk Crime Line board since day one. He says he's seen firsthand how anonymous tips can help solve a mystery. This past July, we saw that firsthand. After more than 2 years, police made an arrest in the murder of Henry McIntosh. The beloved barber was shot to death during a robbery of his barbershop in April of 2010. Thanks to Crime Line, Deshaun Iraldo is now charged with McIntosh's murder. And with your support, the Norfolk Crime Line hopes to celebrate another 30 years. The organization must continue to raise money to pay out all the rewards for those valuable tips.
Now we'd like to recognize our Virginia State Police Trooper Luis A. Avalos.
And Trooper Avalos will be accompanied by Captain R. Daniel Plott. Trooper Avalos has been a member of the Virginia Department of State Police for the past 8 years. During this time, he has established himself as a leader not only in the Hampton Roads area, but among the state as well. From January of 2011 through March of 2012, Trooper Avalos made a total of 2,348 traffic and criminal arrests, over 2,300. I haven't done that in my career. That included 45 DUI arrests, 12 drug arrests, 14 felony arrests, and 531 reckless driving arrests. Trooper Avalos has received the Mothers Against Drunk Drivers Award. every year since assigned to Area 46, which is the Hampton Newport News portion of Hampton Roads. Trooper Avalos is motivated and dedicated to making the highways of the Commonwealth of Virginia and the Hampton Roads community safer. It's our honor to recognize Trooper Luis A. Avalos as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the Virginia Department of State Police.
And now our Virginia Beach Police Top Cop, Officer Brandon Butler.
And he will be accompanied by Chief James Severa. It's going to be a little shorter, Adam, than what you sent us. But it still gets the... Officer Brandon S. Butler is part of the Virginia Beach Police Department's Oceanfront Community Policing Squad. Between January 2011 and March 2012, Officer Butler answered 3,329 calls for service, issued 1,205 traffic summonses, and effected 376 physical arrests. He demanded to work many cases himself instead of assigning them to a detective. Officer Butler's first cousin was killed in a car accident by a drunk driver. He's used this tragedy as his inspiration to aggressively pursue drunk drivers. Officer Brandon Butler arrested an outstanding 133 drunk drivers during the same time frame. Officer Butler has proven himself to be an extremely motivated, ambitious, and effective officer. It's our honor to recognize Officer Brandon S. Butler as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the Virginia Beach Police Department.
And for Williamsburg Police Top Cop, Lieutenant Donald Janderup.
And Lieutenant Janderup will be accompanied by Chief David Sloggy of the Williamsburg Police Department. Lieutenant Donald Janderup has been with the Williamsburg Police Department since 2001. Throughout the last year, Lieutenant Janderup has been instrumental in working on the training and development of the crisis intervention team concept. It was critical in saving the life of one suicidal individual and ensuring a successful resolution to an incident where a suspect had barricaded himself after abducting a family member. Lieutenant Janderup's contributions go far beyond expectation. He serves as a watch commander on one of the highest producing squads and is often sought out by his peers for advice. Lieutenant Janderup's attitude and disposition serve as an example to others, and he is greatly respected throughout the Williamsburg community. It's our honor to recognize Lieutenant Donald Janderup as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the Williamsburg Police Department.
And we would like to honor Chesapeake for 30 years of taking action against crime with this video.
1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP is one way to stop this brutal killer and all the senseless crimes in our community.
When the Chesapeake Crime Line program started in 1982, it was a new idea just catching on in Hampton Roads. No one predicted how much it would change the way police solved crimes. Detective Ronnie Young was working a murder case in November of 1993 when he witnessed the power of the crime line. Helen Bedsole was found shot to death in her Geneva Shores home.
The information that we got was able to lead us to a source that we ultimately used and got basically a taped confession from the shooter in this case.
By that time, Detective Young said the rumors were already swirling.
We all thought he did it because his wife was not afraid to tell people what was going on.
Helen was in the middle of a bitter divorce.
The investigation led to find out that her husband had actually paid somebody to come in and kill her.
A year and a day later, police made 2 arrests in this chilling murder-for-hire case. Helen's husband, Clark, and the man he paid to kill her.
The citizens have to take their responsibility seriously in protecting each other.
Today, Matt Krakauer leads the group of civilian volunteers who run the Crime Line program in Chesapeake. He sees how the Crime Line program gets results.
It helps keep our community safe. This is one of the safest communities of its size in the nation, and that's why we try to keep it that way.
Back in 2001, police across Hampton Roads were searching for a gang of violent armed robbers. They had hit a series of businesses over 11 days, ending in this holdup at Monarch Bank. Here's News Channel 3's report from that day.
They ran in and yelled, "This is a robbery." One shot was fired, at least one shot, got everybody scared.
Lieutenant Jeff Sloan was the investigator on the case. He said this surveillance video helped him get a crime line tip to crack the case.
Within 2 days, a crime line caller called in, gave us the name of that subject, also gave us the name of a friend of his, advised that he had information they were involved in the bank robbery, described his vehicle.
That led police right to the robbers, stopping the crime spree. Lieutenant Sloan says that would have never happened without the crime line.
In total, during that particular case with Crime Line, I'd gotten 5 different Crime Line tips that I call were significant.
Sergeant Thomas Coleman was the Crime Line coordinator back in 2001 for Chesapeake. The regional crime line number 1888 Lock You Up was brand new.
Folks were starting to catch on that they could call into this number and provide information from all across Hampton Roads, so it brought everybody together.
Now, after 30 years, the Hampton Roads Regional Partnership has made individual programs like Chesapeake Crime Line more powerful than ever.
Now we'd like to honor Windsor Police Sergeant Grafton Jernigan as our top cop.
And Sergeant Jernigan will be accompanied by Chief Vic Reynolds with the Windsor Police Department. Sergeant Grafton P. Jernigan helped to solve a rash of burglaries in the town of Windsor. In late 2010 and early 2011, more than 25 homes were burglarized in Windsor and the surrounding areas. Sergeant Jernigan got confessions from 2 suspects in the burglaries. Detective Jernigan's investigation led to other defendants being charged in other jurisdictions. Sergeant Jernigan also investigated a reported drive-by shooting in January 2012. He discovered the victim shot himself and filed a false police report. Because of his those things don't happen in Norfolk. Because of his detective work, Sergeant Jernigan also arrested the shooter/victim for drug charges. That does happen. Sergeant Jernigan is a team player, a leader who will gladly assist any of his fellow officers and often responds out to crime scenes while off duty. It's our honor to recognize Sergeant Grafton P. Jernigan as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the Windsor Police Department.
And now our top cop for the York County Poquoson Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Kyle Hahn.
And Lieutenant Hahn will be accompanied by Sheriff Danny Diggs. Lieutenant Kyle Hahn has been with the York Poquoson Sheriff's Office since 1993. He's a shift commander in the Uniform Patrol Division and commander of the Sheriff's Office Emergency Response Team. Lieutenant Hahn also supervises the school resource officers at the York County's 4 high schools. He's worked with the school board to develop the Deadly Force Emergency Plan. Lieutenant Hahn has spent countless hours conducting and observing the active shooter drills. Lieutenant Hahn's devotion to his duties and responsibilities for the citizens of York County have made a profound impact on the safety of the school system and citizens and businesses in the County of York. It's our honor to recognize Lieutenant Kyle Hahn as the 2012 Top Cop Award recipient for the York Poquoson Sheriff's Office.
And now we have a special award. Our Lifetime Achievement Award goes to Mr. Warner Atkinson of the Portsmouth Crime Line.
And Warner will be accompanied by Kathy Hall. E. Warner Atkinson has given more than 15 years of service to the Portsmouth Crime Line and Regional Crime Line. During his service to the Portsmouth Crime Line, he volunteered for fundraising events, student and community awareness programs, and the yearly Crime Line Top Cop Dinner. And his efforts stretched outside Portsmouth, working with the Regional Crime Line and acting as treasurer for several years. From a board member to a treasurer, Warner has driven to make it a stronger and more effective tool in helping to make Portsmouth and the greater Hampton Roads community a safer place to work, live, play, and worship. All of this does not even begin to capture the vital importance Warner Atkinson has been to the longevity and stability of the Portsmouth crime line. It's our honor to recognize E. Warner Atkinson as the 2012 Top Cop Lifetime Achievement Award recipient.
Congratulations. And we have another video for you taking a look back at 30 years of Crime Line in Virginia Beach.
May 5th, 1982, the very first case closed by the Virginia Beach Crime Solvers program. 3 people were arrested for destroying equipment at the Hells Point Golf Course in Sandbridge. A caller to the Crime Line helped identify the vandals. Of course, that's not the biggest crime a tipster would help solve, but significant because it was the start of something that would change the way the police department solved cases.
No, I never would have predicted that it would have taken off the way it did.
Virginia Beach Police Chief James Cervera was a young detective on a burglary case when he saw firsthand how anonymous calls to the Crime Line got results.
I walked into the office, was given the information right then. We were able to put the entire case together, recover the property, put the bad guys in jail, bring the property back to the rightful owner, all within about a 12-hour period of time.
In the late 80s, tipsters helped solve 2 high-profile cases. First, the case of the acid attacker. In December of 1988, a man attacked women who were shopping by throwing acid on them. A tip led to the arrest of Michael Prina. And a double homicide in 1989 at a car dealership. The owner and an employee were gunned down on a February evening. A call to Crime Solvers helped arrest a suspect within days of the shooting.
You use the term taking action against crime, and a majority of citizens exactly want to do that.
A Crime Solvers tip would blow a case wide open in June of 1995. The oceanfront was covered with pictures of missing college student Jennifer Evans. A News Channel 3 report told viewers about her mysterious disappearance.
Friends say they left her talking to a man she had never met before. When they returned an hour later, she was gone.
Those friends helped police create this composite sketch. A tipster called and identified the man as Navy SEAL trainee Dustin Turner. Within days, the missing persons case became a murder investigation. And Dustin Turner and Billy Joe Brown were eventually convicted of Jennifer's murder. Since 1982, anonymous tips have helped identify and arrest suspects in 76 homicides. And the addition of a regional crime line number, 1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP, only improved the program.
It's genius. It's a media marketing genius way to do business, and it was 2 detectives in our police department, Mike Derwent and Jim Barnes. They came up with this number, and it has been the biggest hit.
Allowing Hampton Roads police departments to work together under one easy-to-remember crime line number. That regional cooperation helped in a July 2009 carjacking and kidnapping case. 17-month-old Naomi Hillel was in the backseat of her mother's van when it was stolen. She was later found in a parking lot of a Newport News hotel.
Thank God that he heard our prayers and he brought her home.
A Crime Line caller gave police information on the suspect. That led police to Matthew Nash in upstate New York, where he was arrested. Over the past 30 years, the Crime Solvers program has led to the arrest of more than 7,000 people and the seizure of more than $32 million in stolen property and illicit drugs.
What happens is they realize it's just a matter of time. You know the old saying, you can run but you cannot hide. This is one way that we say you can run but you can't hide.
I want to thank all the police departments and all of the Crime Line board members that helped me to put together those stories. To take a look back, you're going to see some of those in the coming weeks on News Channel 3, and we're proud to bring them to you here tonight to honor all of the people that have made this program the great program that it is. And now, without further ado, a very special award. We have our Hampton Roads Top Cop Award winner for 2012, and to present that, I'd like to welcome Chief James Cervera back to the stage.
I gave some opening remarks yesterday at a promotion ceremony. And I had said, you know, it's very easy to be the chief of police in Virginia Beach because we have an excellent staff, we have an excellent command staff, we have excellent police officers who work extremely hard every day and every night. And as I look out at the audience today, I could speak for all of my fellow chiefs that it's easy to be a chief of police when you have dedicated police officers that we heard about tonight. I'd especially like to recognize Brandon Butler for all the work he's done during the course of the year. You've heard all the stats that he's produced. He's a one-man wrecking machine for our COP unit on the evening shift. And Brandon, you are the top cop for the region.
And he gets a check for $500.
Yeah. Congratulations. Thank you all for being here. I want to give my heartfelt thanks to all of you for all of your support to the Hampton Roads Regional Crime Line and tonight's Top Cop Awards. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for your recognition tonight and for all of your hard work. I know that we're going to do a lot of great things in the year to come, and I look forward to seeing you guys next year. We want to remind you, of course, don't forget those awesome silent auction items. You can pay for those in the hallway before you leave. Cash, check, or charge, and bring the goodies home. Have a great night.